get started on the tour, I just want to give you an overview of where we are in the watershed. So this map shows the larger Bad River watershed. It's about 1,000 square miles in size, and we're located we're standing right about here, which is at the hatchery on the Kakagan River. But what you can see is in this large watershed, here's the reservation boundaries, and basically everything in this watershed does flow through the reservation and does discharge to Lake Superior in the Bad River Sloughs and Kakagan Sloughs complex. So we're going to take you out and show you the wild rice in Kakagan Sloughs. You can see some along the edges behind you, but we'll talk more about wild rice and why it's culturally important and what it needs to survive in this system.
Yep. Let's see, I coached.
So you probably saw wild rice along your way. Wild rice is also called monoman, the good seed, the good berry. It is an annual plant, so it does grow from seed every year. Wild rice does grow in about a half foot of water till about 3.5 feet of water. It does like some mucky substrate, and we basically say it has the Goldilocks effects for sediments and nutrients. It wants some sediments and some nutrients. Too much is bad, and too little is bad. But you also probably came across some other plant species that compete with wild rice. These are native competitors, so I have arrowhead is one of the plants you probably saw. There's a couple different species of arrowhead here. It is a native plant. You saw some white and yellow water lilies. These are native plants. They do compete with wild rice. They tend to grow in the deeper side of the channel. And then you probably also saw some pickerel, which is another competitor of wild rice. So the reason I'm showing those is it's important to know what some of the plant species wild rice competes with, because the different water levels affects who's going to win in that competition. So when we have high water level years, that helps wild rice recolonize some of those areas that maybe the lily was originally growing in. And when we have low water level years, that's actually also good for the wild rice because it helps it outcompete with some of those native competitors. So this year is the first year Lake Superior water levels has been above the long-term average since maybe like the 1990s, early 90s. And this graph, sorry if these are small and you guys can't see them, but this shows Lake Superior water levels. The red lines show the long-term high, the long-term low, and the middle red line shows the long-term average water levels for Lake Superior. And then I have on this graph, I have 2007, 2012, 2013, and where we're at this year. So you can see that we're above that long-term average this year, which I think is a good thing for the health of the wild rice bed. I don't know if folks told you on the boat ride, but basically the wild rice harvest was closed twice in the last 5 years or so. It was closed in 2007, where we can see that we had really low water levels. And in August and September, Lake Superior actually set record lows for that month, or those months. My understanding is there was wild rice during that time, but you couldn't get to it because there was mud flats to actually get to the wild rice. The tribe chose to close down the harvest, which is my understanding is the first time that has happened from what people remember. I joined the team right after that in October. The second time wild rice harvest was closed in recent years was in 2012. 2012, we had a couple of things going on in 2012, but that was the year we had a really early spring. The Bad River reached 50 degrees Fahrenheit in mid-March, which is a little bizarre. Normally it reaches 50 degrees Fahrenheit maybe mid-April, mid-May, depending on snow melt and how much snow we got in ice cover. So we had a really warm spring that year. That warmer water temperature could have affected the germination success of the wild rice seeds. The other thing that happened that year was that was the same year that Duluth had that big flooding event, and that also affected us. So this graph shows the flow at Bear Trap Creek, which is one of the major tributaries into the Catawgan Sloughs. So there's a USGS gauging station on that creek at the highway recording flow since 2007. So you can see the largest peaks did happen. Sorry, I have my thing wrong. The large peak in 2012 happened in June when wild rice was still in its floating leaf stage. Wild rice is really sensitive to rapid changes in water levels when it's not standing upright. So when it's submerged and in its floating leaf stage, the roots are not well developed, and so it can quickly get uprooted when you have those rapid changes in water levels. Once it's standing upright, that means the roots have developed more and it is a little bit sturdier in terms of being able to stay in place when you have rapid changes in water levels. But when it's at that floating leaf submerged phase, it's really sensitive to uprooting. And that's the reason why we have these slow no-wake buoys out here to encourage, and actually it's the rule to go slow and follow those slow no-wake buoys and to prevent that wild rice from being uprooted.